find things in the process to enjoy, the more you're keeping those stress chemicals down and your prefrontal cortex online, which means you'll be more efficient, you'll be quicker, you'll be more effective. All right. And so next on the list for today is Swasti, who is in the room. Hello, Swasti.
Hi.
Hey, how are you today?
I'm good, thank you. How are you?
Very good, thank you.
Okay, so I had my last theory exam yesterday. And
Okay.
it was better than the first because the second is supposed to be like a little easier. But I feel like I went through like a crisis after, because I was like, because the mistakes I was telling you about in the first paper, and I was like, wow, like I really can't get things without struggle, huh? Like, yeah, everything in my life, it's a big statement, but everything always works out in the end. But it always has the struggle element, like such a struggle, because I will get results in 2 weeks and I don't know if I have to do the resit paper. Like I literally can't predict it because I don't know what it will be like. Yeah, which is a scenario I'm not looking forward to, but I know that again it will be fine. Like it will be 3 weeks of work and then the rest will be summer, so it will be fine. But I'm just, I just got frustrated at like why things can't come easily to me like they are to everyone else, because some people finished the first paper, got the result, passed the entire year, and they were done. But I was still slogging through. But I know that ultimately I'll be okay, but I was still slogging through.
Very good. All right. So well done for being here and reaching out for help with this. And I know that feeling so well, that feeling of everything has to be a struggle. It all turns out in the end, but you have to go through the struggle first. So that was a program of mine as well. And of course, so there's a pattern there, a generational pattern. You'll have noticed probably that your parents and your grandparents had the same problem, right? They all had to struggle. Like your parents ended up in England and, they're okay, but there was a lot of struggle towards that. Yeah. So there's a lot of fear, a lot of anxiety, a lot of we've got to suffer and all of that.
Yeah.
So of course you as a child learned that that's the way to survive. And if things come too easily, what's wrong with that?
No, I was thinking now I have nothing to do apart from pack my stuff to leave to go home. But I'm still feeling what I was feeling pre-exam time. And I was like, wow, it's really inside me. It's literally got nothing to do with the outside. Yeah. So it's just the stress and like continuous time. Like I've been unable trying to relax, but I know that comes from whatever's going on.
Yeah. Okay. Very good. And so, of course, there's a couple of things here. Once, when your system has been full of stress chemicals, it takes a while for a start for that shift to, for your system to settle down. It doesn't take as long as we might think. However, what's happening is we're re-triggering that state as we think about what happened, or we think about what the consequences could be in the future. Right. So what do you find works best for you to enjoy or feel calm? What do you, is there any music you enjoy? Are there any activities or videos, reading?
Yeah, I was trying to figure this out. So I feel that when I'm with people, I'm very in the zone and I'm very relaxed. But when I'm with myself, I'm just full of my own stuff in my head and what needs to be done and by when.
Okay. And so are there any activities that can be done alone that you actually like, that are relaxing?
Yeah, like watching something. Like if I really involve myself in it, like again, it takes focus.
Yes. Okay. And that is not necessarily cast in stone, that it always has to take focus. That just depends on your current state and where you're putting your brain and your mind in the moment and what you're used to. So let's look at the worst case scenario so we can address that. What's the biggest fear right now?
Honestly, doing the resit paper in like 5 weeks. Again, it's not even bad. That's not the worst thing. Worst thing would be if they failed me now. Like you have to reset the year. They gave me 3 chances.
Very good. Let's say worst case scenario happens and you do fail completely. Then what will you do?
I will just be able to reset the year. That's not my worst case scenario. My worst case scenario is doing the resit paper.
Doing the reset paper.
Yeah.
Okay, so let's say you have to do the reset paper. Will that be like? What's so bad about that?
It's because when I find out I have 3 weeks to prepare to do it, I've kept those free just in case for my own peace of mind. It's just like, it's going to be a lot to do in 3 weeks.
Okay, and is that because you've done no work at all until
No.
then? Right. So what makes it a lot of work in 3 weeks?
Because I have to cover like what I covered in 3 months in 3 weeks.
Mm-hmm.
Because I have
But
to refresh it again.
Right. So you'd have to refresh it, but it won't take as long as it did the first time, presumably, right?
No.
There'll be gaps that you'll need to fill in, right? So those won't take as long. And of course, remind yourself that the calmer you are and the more you're able to enjoy the process, find things in the process to enjoy, the more you're keeping those stress chemicals down and your prefrontal cortex online, which means you'll be more efficient, you'll be quicker, you'll be more effective. So keep reminding yourself of that, because that can reassure you it's okay. It doesn't need to be a struggle. It'll only be a struggle if I'm struggling with it, if I'm engaging with that. Does that make sense so far?
Yeah.
Okay. And so this, in the beginning, it takes constant reminding yourself, because it's automatic to be frightened. Because that's what you've always, that's what your brain and body are used to. So it takes that correction. So it's like if you've been parting your hair in a particular part all your life, and then you start trying to brush it the other way, of course it won't for a while, right? It takes time, it takes repetition. Now let's look at the idea that you have to struggle. So at the moment, like you say, you've got nothing else to do except pack, right, to go away. And what are you looking forward to most?
It is another story on its own. Because this relationship I was talking about, like this is like the last week of it. So it's like, it's all happening at the same time. But this is where I'm trying to like focus on in the moment, so I can enjoy it while it lasts, kind of thing. Because I would enjoy these 2 weeks before I get my results. So irrespective of what happens, I've enjoyed my summer. Yeah.
Good. All right. And so you're packing and you're going, when are you going home?
A week and a bit.
Actually. Okay, so you're going to enjoy this week and a bit and the relationship. And then when you go home, what are you looking forward to when you get home?
It's like no obligations.
Yeah, nice. So that'll be lovely, right? So one of the things you need to do is keep choosing your focus. So when you find yourself thinking about the exam, oh, I hope I won't have to reset that, answer it. Don't run with the dog when it goes to chase a rabbit. Bring the dog to heel, right? So every time your mind wanders to the fear of the, whether you'll have to reset the exam or not, that's the dog starting to chase a rabbit. And as soon as you notice it, the earlier you notice it and correct it and bring that dog to heel, the easier it's going to be, rather than it's already started running. Then it drags you with it. Yeah. Right. And that's effectively what's happening. So as your mind starts to think about, what if I have to reset the exam and what that's going to feel like, and the stress of those 3 years, or I've got to fit everything into 3 weeks, that's the dog starting to run with the rabbit, and it's dragging you with it. Right. And the longer you allow that, the more difficult it is to then correct it, because you've got all those stress chemicals in your system already. Does that make sense? Yes. And that dog can be quite strong. So those stress chemicals can feel really real. That's when you've got to override that and take control and go, I know it feels bad. I know it feels dramatic, but it's not, and answer it. Okay. All right. Yes. Okay. So that's that. So now let's look at your childhood. Do you still have any old memories, any negative memories of your parents struggling, or you having to struggle as a child, or negative memories of not struggling? So the consequences of not working hard, not struggling. So when I was in like India living with my grandma, I'd always watch her like overwork herself, and it was just like house chores. It was like something was on the floor and it had to be swept up right away, kind of thing. And then I came here and I was just like, oh, my grandma always did it, but then I had to do everything here. And then my parents were just the whole, just not what I expected. But I don't remember struggling as such. My dad's like I've said, like paper rejections a lot of the time. So he uses work as a coping mechanism to escape. So it became a coping mechanism over the years. It wasn't before, now it is. But then you'd watch him work 18 hours a day and then still get rejected on his papers. And it's like, what is the point of life at this point? Like what are you trying to do? Okay. And so as you think of your new childhood, is there any of that stuff still in your childhood? The grandma bit stuff, the dad thing I changed. You changed. Good. Okay, so let's look at your grandma. So I want you to go to one of those memories that represent all of them of your grandmother working hard, struggling with the chores of the house. Got that? Very good. And can you see the expression on her face? Yeah, it was just irritation. Irritation. Very good. Good job, sweetie. Okay, and now I want you to imagine that Mary Poppins turns up. Okay, and Mary Poppins says, oh, yeah, no, you don't have to do that, all of that. We've got magic. So she teaches your grandmother to do the magic, to do the chores by magic. As that starts to happen, what's the expression on your grandmother's face?
No, she needs to fix it.
That's what I thought. So I was just checking for that resistance right there. All right, very good. What happens if you're, so let's take Mary Poppins out of it now. And what happens if your grandmother doesn't do what she's doing? So there's something on the floor, she doesn't pick it up. What's the problem with that? What's the consequences?
It was very much like a reputation thing, like our house. And I feel like this is part of something that I fully haven't looked at. So it was reputation about our house had a reputation. So it had to be kept clean, like whoever came in, we had to treat them nicely no matter how we were feeling. Like it was always them over your own family members. And then it was the same with looks, like you had to look good when you went outside, like you had to keep your weight under control and all of that. You had to eat healthy. It was like a weird like diet for no reason.
Okay, yes. So there's a lot of stuff there. And what would happen if, let's say, you didn't do those things? So you didn't maintain that reputation. What's the consequence of that?
It was like people would talk behind your back, like in the village, but then you'd be aware. So it wasn't really talking behind. It was just like the gossip would go round.
Yeah, very good. So the gossip would go round, and then what? What's the consequence of that?
Eventually, some old person would come to your house and say it to your face, and then my grandma would be offended.
Okay. And so let's say the old person comes to your house and says it to your face. What's wrong with that?
I think our family would just be distressed for like days about it.
Okay. Now, what if
this person said this? Yeah.
Right. What if we went back in time, we changed it so that the old person comes to the house and says it to, and your grandmother laughs and goes, never mind, don't worry about it. Or she says, oh, thanks so much for letting us know. What would that be like?
Yeah, that would be peaceful, like more relaxing.
Right. Because there's no real danger in it, right? Nobody's getting fired. Nobody's getting hurt. It's just somebody's opinion. And it doesn't actually do anything physical to you or to your grandmother. So it's just a perception and it's just conditioning. Let's put that stepping stone in there. So your grandmother decides she's taking a day off. She's not doing any housework at all, and she's enjoying whatever she likes to do, some sort of activity or whatever that or just resting. So things around the house don't get done. There's something on the floor. She doesn't pick it up. And then people in the village start talking. Imagine you as a child and your grandmother walking past some people, and you can hear them talking about your house. And I want you to imagine your grandmother just laughing and going, it doesn't matter. What's it going to do? Kill us? Can you imagine that?
Yeah. Yes. Yeah.
Good job,
That's
sweetheart.
nice.
How does that feel?
Yeah, it's more power for us over them.
That's it. Exactly. So I want you to play that until it feels established. And then the next piece will be, now you're in your home with your grandmother and whoever else is there, and an old person comes to your house and they tell you to your face, they tell you and your grandmother to your face, whatever they're going to tell you. And the same thing, your grandmother, either she just laughs it off, she takes it as a joke, or she thanks them for letting her know. And how would that feel?
I feel like it's slightly disrespectful.
Okay, and disrespectful to whom?
To the person who you're laughing at. But they're being disrespectful by saying it too.
Well, that's it, yes. And it doesn't need to be in a mean way. It can be in a good-humored way. So they say, so whatever they say, your house is a mess. And your grandmother goes, no, it's okay. Life is for enjoying ourselves. Hey, would you like a cup of tea? And the person goes, oh, you know what? You're right. Yes, please. That would be lovely. Or something like that. So that person is fine with it. In fact, it helps them, give them some insight or some value as well. How does that sound?
Yeah, that's good.
Good job, sweetheart. Okay, so practice those stepping stones. And then, of course, the final memory is that the house is easy to maintain and the reputation is intact. And so your grandmother is able to just do whatever, like a normal routine. And then she spends lots of time relaxing, doing things that she enjoys. She plays with you. You all go out. So make sure that the majority of her day is spent feeling good, and maintaining the house is effortless. So there is no struggle. There is no constantly having to do something.
Okay.
Does that sound good?
Can I put like a housemaid in there?
Of course.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Okay. Yeah. Do
Okay.
that. And then now I want to do something. So we've done that and you're going to practice those, of course. But right now, I want you to imagine that a scene with the little you and your grandmother, just the two of you in the house. And what is your grandmother teaching you now?
So she's a really good knitter. Like she
Mhm.
knits stuff for everyone. So she's teaching me how
Nice.
to knit. And I really enjoyed that time with her, like learning how to do it.
Lovely. Good job. So can you take a moment now to really put yourself in that scene and feel the feeling of how relaxed it is, how patient she is, and how much she's enjoying sharing the knitting with you and teaching you, and how much you are enjoying it, and really amp up that feeling, those good feelings of connection, peace, calm, safety.
Yeah, that's so good. Because there was a layer of she had sisters who like got married in really rich houses. And then they were used to relax all day. And it was like a bad thing. So now she can have
Right.
it. Yeah.
Very good. So you've got a reference there for it, and then you're going to now give it to your grandmother. That's your gift to her. Good job. Okay, so now in that scene, so you've amped up the feelings, so you know what that feels like. I want you to pick one word or phrase that can represent this. And it could be like knitting, or it could be something else, anything you like. You got something?
It's okay.
Good job, sweetheart. Good. It's okay is the phrase. And now I want you to pick one visual. So it can be the knitting itself, it can be your grandmother's face, it can be anything you like in that scene that can represent that scene for you.
Okay, yeah.
You got something. Okay, very good. So now I want you to spend the rest of today referencing that. So just touch it, like using it like a touchstone. Just thinking of the visual and that it's okay, and that feel of being with your grandmother and that peace and all of that you've just created. Do that over and over and over to keep yourself topped up with those feel-good chemicals. And then moving forward, every time you think of the exam, every time you think of, the possibility of resitting the exam, whatever it is, immediately play that moment. Okay. So play that phrase, it's okay, and the visual with the feelings, so that your brain starts to link the exam and everything to do with that with this evidence in your childhood, this new evidence in your childhood that you're safe.
Okay.
And that's okay to not struggle.
Right. Okay.
How does that sound?
That sounds great. So I have a question on this. So I did this in 2020 when I was expecting results, and I was like using the superpower and everything. And I know what it's like to let go of an outcome. Like I know that innate feeling, right? I haven't been able to achieve it yet with this, but I know I'm like hoping. So inside of me somewhere is like desperately hoping it will change the situation, but that's not really how the unconditional love works. That's what I want to get to, but I'm struggling to get to there. Is it just because I'm linking like the exam outcome with something negative? Because every time I think about it, it stresses me out.
Yeah. Okay. So it could be, those references in your childhood that, because if you drop your guard, and what I mean by that is if you think it's okay, so let's say you do make peace with it. You go, you know what, even if I fail, even if I have to resit that exam, even if I fail it, whatever happens, everything's okay. I'm going to be okay. So I can love it all anyway. So you're using that unconditional love. Your brain, the unconscious part of your brain, is seeing that as you're sitting there and there's a lion and you're going, even if the lion attacks me, it's okay.
It's okay. Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
Be fine. Right? So that's what's going on. That's so as you think of, oh, everything will be okay, your brain is pumping stress chemicals into your system going, no, you're going to die. So two things. Number one, reminding yourself really is okay. There's nothing, I'm not going to die. Nothing dangerous is going to happen. So reassuring yourself on a logical level. And then the second part is laying a new childhood memory that proves it for the unconscious part of your brain. Because you reminding yourself that you're not really in physical danger, that's just for your conscious mind. That's not going to get through to the unconscious part of your brain because it can't understand that logic.
Yeah.
So what that piece is, that first piece of answering yourself, is using logic to answer the conscious mind so that the conscious mind is not joining in with the so in other words, you're not being dragged around by the dog, or you're not joining in with the child who's frightened of the dark. That first piece of answering it, going, it really is okay. There's nothing dangerous. This is just chemicals. And it's just because the unconscious part of my brain thinks there's a lion. Okay, that's what that piece is for. And then, of course, the new childhood memories are for the unconscious part of your brain. Prove that there is no lion. Does that make sense?
Yeah, that makes more sense. Yes.
Good. Very good. So how do you feel now when you think about the exam and everything to do with that?
Yeah, I feel better. Like I always have control, like I know that. But then, like you just said, I'm saying it's okay, but I'm not unconscious and not really believing it. I didn't even think about that. Yeah.
Yeah. And remembering that, realizing that means acknowledging to not expect the unconscious part of your brain to believe it. And knowing that because the unconscious part of your brain is still behaving as if there's a lion, it doesn't mean there is a lion.
Yeah.
It just means the unconscious part of your brain is incapable of understanding of logic.
Okay.
So it's like dog, for example, Steve's daughter has a dog that's terrified of firework or any bang. Can't explain to them. I mean, you can explain to the dog, but it won't understand, right?
Yeah.
It's just going to jump and shake every time there's a bang, regardless of whether it's real danger or not.
Okay.
Sound good?
Yeah, that's empowering to know. Yeah, it's like the reiteration, like I needed the reiteration.
Very good. And rewatch this video as well. Rewatch this recording to keep reminding yourself when you need it.
Thank you so much.
You're very welcome, Swasti. Thank you for the question and enjoy that time, that you have now before you go home. All right, sweetheart. Lots of love to you. You're very welcome.